In this chapter, chapter 46, Ezekiel starts describing a gate which is closed throughout the whole week, and on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh it opens miraculously. The identity of this gate is a little bit unclear. We're going to go according to the simple meaning, which it appears that Rashi agrees with this. There are some commentaries that argue, and this gate is referring to the gate which we spoke about in chapter 44, and it's talking about that southern gate when we go into the Heichel, into the sanctuary. After discussing this gate, Ezekiel starts talking about different sacrifices, and he starts enumerating how many sacrifices, how much oil, how much flour, and it seems that it's a little bit different than what the Torah describes for Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos. And Rashi reconciles this and says that there's no contradiction, and we just don't say all of the sacrifices, we just say some of it, but really there's no difference when Mashiach comes. But there are other commentaries that argue. The Radak says that the sacrifices are going to be different when Mashiach comes, and the sacrifices which Ezekiel discusses refers to the new sacrifices, the new amount that we're going to bring when Mashiach comes. And the Malbim has a third approach, which we're going to go according to him, in this, that these sacrifices are not a change, but they are special inauguration sacrifices, which were only for a time being, which we discussed in previous chapters. Meaning to say that this is in addition to what the Torah describes. For example, if there's a Shabbos sacrifice or a Chodesh sacrifice, you have to do that as well in addition. And then it talks a little bit about the inheritance of the prince, of the leader, how he could bequeath it to his offsprings. And then it talks about where you could eat the kachim, the kachim kalim, the different levels of sacrifices. Some have more holiness, and you have to eat it in holier areas. And because the layout of the Beis Hamikdash is a little different, you have to describe exactly where we're allowed to eat it. This is what God said. Shara Chatzar Pnimi is the inner courtyard of Pena Kodim, which faces eastward. And we explained this refers to the southern side, which was usually always closed. And in the third Beis Hamikdash, there was an exception that on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh it would open. So throughout the whole year, Yasagr it's closed. Sheish Maisa throughout the 6 days of work. Of Yom Shabbos Yipasech, and on Shabbos it would open. Yom Chodesh Yipasech, and Rosh Chodesh it would open up miraculously. Ova Nasi, and the prince comes Derech Ulam Ashar through the hall of the gate Michutz from outside, from the Zara, and he goes throughout the whole Zara. V'amad Mezuzas Ashar, and he comes and stands by the doorpost of the gate. This refers to this little gate over here at the southern side. And while he's there, the kohenim would do his burnt offering, the shlomav, and his peace offering, v'shtachva, and liftan ashar v'yatsa. And he prostrates himself at the threshold of the gate, and he departs. Ashar sagar da'arev, and the gate does not close until the evening. That means it remains open miraculously, and then miraculously it closes. V'shtachva ma'aretz, and the people of the nation also prostrate themselves Pesach Hasharhu against this opening, and that was the reason why it remained opened. B'Shabbosis of Chadashim, we're talking about Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, the Klei Hashem, and they prostrated themselves before Hashem. Now talking about the sacrifices, Hashem, and the burnt offering which the prince brings to Hashem. The Yom Shabbos, on the day of Shabbos, Shishach Vasim, 6 sheep, Tmimim, which are unblemished, V'ayil Tomim, and a ram which is unblemished. And of course we see that it's a little different than what it says in Torah. Torah it says 7 sheep, here it says 6 sheep, And we already brought in the introduction that there's an argument, and Rashi would, for example, say that it's only talking about part of the karbanis, but we're going to go with the Malbim that these are special karbanis, which are special to the time that they're inaugurating the Beis Hamikdash, which we spoke about that time frame in previous chapters. And if you want to find out more about that, you have to go to those chapters. Mincha, Mincha, Ephah la'ayil, and you bring the meal offering, the Ephah, which is a measurement for a ram, the kvasim, and for the sheep. Mincha, matas yadai, and the meal offering is what is put in his hand, which is a sixth of an Ephah, b'shem and hin la'ephah, and for every Ephah, there is a oil which has the measurement of a hin. Of Yom HaChodesh, and on Rosh Chodesh, Parben Bakar Tmimim, an ox which is unblemished, V'sheshes Kvasim, and 6 sheep, Ba'al Tmimim Yiu, and a ram, which all of these animals are all unblemished. The Ephah Lapar, and an amount of an Ephah for an ox, Ephah La'ayil, an Ephah for a ram, Yaseh, the Shemdu, Mincha, a meal offering, the Kvasim, and for the sheep, Kashetasik Yodin, according to his means, literally. The shemen hin la'ephah, and a shemen, which has an amount of a hin for an ephah. When the prince comes darach ulam ashar, through the hall of the gate, Yahweh, he comes through that way. V'darka yetze, and he goes out throughout the same way. He doesn't have to go through different ways. When the people of the nation come before Hashem Moedim on the holidays, when then there's a mitzvah of Riyah, you have to see Hashem. Then Abadar Chashar Ksafin, someone who comes to the north, Ishtachlis, to prostrate themselves, Yitzidar Shar Negev, goes out through the southern side of Abadar Shar Negev. Someone who comes throughout the southern side, Yitzidar Shar Tzpina, goes out throughout the northern side, the Yashav Dar Chashar Shababai. He shouldn't go throughout the same gate. Kinicha Yetze, should go through the opposite gate. And that is because if you go through different ways, you're seeing more, and the mitzvah of Riyah is greater. That's how you fulfill that mitzvah. Nasi b'seichem, and on the holidays, the Nasi has to be like all the other people, that he also has this obligation. How the people go, he should come, and how they leave, he should leave also, going in 2 different directions, going into one direction and leaving through a different direction. And on the holidays, which refers to Shavuos, refers to Shani Kippur, Tia Mincha, the meal offering, should be Ephah Lapar, Ephah La'ayil, for an ox it should be an Ephah, for a ram it should be an Ephah, like Vasim, Matas Yodei, and for the sheep was put in his hand, which refers to a sixth of an Ephah, V'shemen hin la'ephah, and the shemen, oil, which is the amount of the in for an Ephah. V'chiyasa nasi nidava, when a nasi makes a donation, Eila Shlama, burnt or a peace offering, Nidava Hashem, gives a donation, that means something that she's not obligated. Pesach as Ashar, they open up the gate, Apayna Kadim, which faces eastward. Also, and they do for him his burnt offering, his peace offering, Shabbos, just like Shabbos. And after he leaves, they close it right away, unlike Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, which stays open the whole day for people to go and prostrate themselves. And a sheep, which is 1 year old, Tamim, unblemished, Tasa Ela Layim, Hashem, they do a burnt offering for Hashem, Babaika Tasa, say they do it in the morning, and this is a special carbon according to the Malbim that they bring, in addition to the carbonates which are stated clearly in the Torah. A milcha tasa alav, and they should do a meal offering on a babaker in the morning. Shishas ephah, 1/6 of ephah v'shemen, shlishas ein, and 1/3 of an oil of which is the amount of a hin. Laris as aselas, to mix the meal, the flour, to make it more oily, even though according to our calculations it should be, let's say, 1/6 of a hin. Michal Hashem, a meal offering for Hashem, chukas elam tamid, and we have to keep his eternal decree constantly. Yasu is a keves, is a mincha. They do the sheep, the meal offering is the shemen, the oil, babaker in the morning. Eilas tamid, the burnt offering which is constantly done every day. Now we're going on to a different topic. We say this is what Hashem said. When a prince gives a gift to his children, it's his inheritance, it's for his son. It's their portion in their inheritance. So the Nasi is able to give a gift, and it comes his inheritance. But when he gives a gift from his inheritance from one of his servants, then it only stays till Yovel. The Shavas the Nasi, and it goes back after Yovel to the Nasi. But it is the inheritance of Banav Lahem Tia, and it goes to the kids, and then it stays even after Yovel. On the Yikach Nasi, and the Nasi should not take Minachasam from the inheritance of the nation, to rob them of their holdings. From his own inheritance he could give to his kids, in order that they should not scatter my nation from their inheritance. Each one should retain their own inheritance. And now he brings me to this little alleyway, Ashar Kasaf Ashar, which was at the side of the gate, Alishas HaKodesh, going into the holy chambers of the Koinim, to the Koinim, Apainis Safina, which turn towards north. So this chamber had a opening towards north. And over there was a space at its western end, which means that after going 20 ames after this alleyway, you have a space after 20 ames in the west that was, as we're going to see, a place for the kohenim to eat their kachim. And in this slide we see a picture. I painted in blue this alleyway going into this chamber, and after 20 ames is already a place where you could eat kachi. And he told me, the angel told me, where the kohenim could cook as Hashem b'sachatas, the guilt offering, the sin offering, they could bake the mincha, the vilti not take it out to the outer courtyard, which is not holy enough for the kachim, the kaddish sam, to mingle with the nation. You can't do that. You have to eat it in this special place. And he took me out to the outer courtyard, and he brought me to the four corners of the courtyard, which two of them we could see in this picture, and they were at the corners, and these are of lesser sanctity. There was a courtyard in the corner of the courtyard, which means there was this space which is called the courtyard. A courtyard in the corner of the courtyard. At the four corners of this courtyard, there was unroofed courtyards, 40 amis long, and 30 wide. They're all at one measurement from these corners. The Torah Saviv, there was a platform around Behem Saviv around these four corners. Mavashis Asui Bitachas Atire Saviv. And underneath these platforms, there were places to cook the meat in this place. The Yemer Lai, and the angel tells me, Ela Beis Mavashlim, this is the place where you cook. Ashivashis Sham B'Shar over there. The servers of the house, which refers to the kohenim, they cook over there as the sacrifices of the nations, and this of course is referring to the kachim kalim, the karbanis that had lesser sanctity, and the kachim, those karbanis, those sacrifices we already explained before that they're cooked in other specific places.